Hello guys and welcome back. So now we're going to take a look at how to create this geometry, and I think this method could work for any of these guys. So let's get started. I'm going to start with the arch that we created previously, that we used the same silhouette. I'm going to reuse that. So I added a resample node to add more points. I'm going to transform it to the origin. Okay, and then I'm going to extrude it. Something like this. And I'm going to transform it back to the origin. I want it to be always at the origin. And let's make sure we have output back turned on so it fills the interior. And let's rotate this 90 degree. And yeah, okay. Let's make sure this is at the center. So I want them to be colliding, and again, without the boolean this would be much harder, but thanks to this awesome boolean we can do this now. So I'm going to change this to union, and if we click the W key, you can see we have a perfect interior formed by the intersection of all these guys. Now we can use the extrude to reduce, to scale this back and forth if we wanted this. Actually, let's reduce this to 0.5, maybe 0.25 even, and let's set this, let's recenter these guys again. Okay, it's still quite big, so let me transform it here along the, let's see, z-axis. Yeah, so we can do that. We can scale how much offset we have. Great, so we need to delete everything except this part. And one feature that characterizes these guys is their normal. These faces here, they're the only part that points along the negative y-axis. So I'm going to add use a delete node, and this guy has a lot of features. One of them is the normal. So I'm going to go to the normal, take the normal on, and I'm going to set the vector to -1 along the y-axis. And what it means is anything that is aligned that meets this condition is going to be deleted. And as I start playing through with the angle, you can see it's deleting pretty much everything that we're not interested in, and we have a perfect geometry. Now obviously these guys have different silhouettes. This one I think has two sections, and this one has two different arches, but I'm not going to overcomplicate things. I'm just going to use this for the moment. So I'd like to add some details here. I'd like to add some or basically a tube surrounding all these interesting creases. And let's see how we can do that. Let's add a group node, and let's see if we can group some interesting edges. Okay, so we can get the unshared edges. Let's try to. I'm going to delete those two guys, so it's flat. Let's get these guys, and I'm going to call this A. And an easy way to create a wireframe out of this is to use a dissolve node. Okay, again, name is tricky. So dissolve node, I'm going to give it the group name. I'm going to tell it to delete non-selected. You can see it deleted everything else. And I'm going to turn this remove inline points because it tries to change the point topology. I want to keep it the same way. And now we're left with pretty much everything except that. But now it's still it's a surface, and we don't want that. We want just curves. And to do that, to convert anything into curves, to convert all the edges into curves, we're going to use a node called end. And instead of close U, I'm going to change it to unroll, and now we have just wires. I'm going to use a poly wire node, connect this guy, and let's reduce the radius, and let's increase the segment so it's circular. Sorry, we have more division, and we can increase the segments so it's rounded. Okay, now I want to get something more interesting selected. Instead of these, I want to select the guys at the center. So let's turn this off and let's tick on min and max. It's already working by ticking the min edges, min edge angle. It's auto selecting the parts that I'm interested in. So that's the area I need. And let's redo the same thing here. Okay. Dissolve. Why is the dissolve? Oh, I see. Because yeah, the previous one generated this mesh, and these ones are just in space. So dissolving them would result in just points, and this is ticked on, so it removes the unused points. I'm gonna remove that, it's fine. And we need to tick this on to create actual wires. And let's merge these two. I don't need an end for this because it's already a wire. And let's merge these guys. Maybe fuse them all. And let's see the polywire result. Awesome. Okay. Let's do something else. If we go back here, I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to tick on angle between edges. Sorry, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to copy this dissolve with this guy, and instead of this dissolve here set to delete not selected, I'm going to set delete selected. And let's see. And the result is actually very, very interesting. Look at what we get. We get this very nice pattern that we can use also to add some interesting details to the geometry if we wanted to. So I'm going to use an end node on this. I'm going to fuse them. I'm going to generate a wire out of them as well. How interesting is this? I'm not so sure, but I think it's good. So the other thing is this guy is also generating, selecting this, so we can either do it by hand or use a delete. And how I'm going to use a delete for this? Well, if we look here, you can see that everything is basically anything outside we can easily select. So I'm going to tick on bounding box. And where is the bounding box? Okay, let's delete points. And delete non-selected. Let's try it. Let's try edges. Yeah, it's not working. Okay, let's do this. Yeah, it's not working either. So we have to find a better way to select this, but it's fine for now. I'm not gonna worry too much. Just gonna add this here. This is better. Okay, and let's add this to the main section, which is this. Let's move this to the side, see what we get. Cool. I'm not so sure about this design though, but I just want to show you guys in case someone wanted to do something. Now let's see how we can fix, how we can fill this. I'm going to try an extrude. See that what that gives us. Yeah, I think an extrude works. And we can select these by hand if we wanted to. I mean, we can select them with see, something is different here. So let's add a fuse before we extrude. Let's see what we get now. Okay, let's sorry, I'm gonna fix it. Okay, I want to make this square, so I'm going to scale these guys up. Perfect. And maybe move it up a bit so it doesn't change the shape too much. And what I'm going to do is when we do the extrude here, we can tell it to group each part separately. So with the front, I'm going to tell it to group it into a group called front. Don't have to use that super long name. And let's try and transform this front group. Okay, let's move it up. Cool. So if we scale it down, we can do this too. If we scale it down to 0, we get we can fill the geometry. And let's take on output back so it fills in these guys. Okay, and let's change this guy again, because the topology changed. Okay, cool. And now we have we're filling the entire geo nicely. Let's hope this works. Yeah, there is a little bit of change there after the extrude. Because the when we did the double click, it selected everything top and bottom, so we need to select only the top, but I think you guys got the idea there. So let's move on. I'm going to create a null. Things are getting a little bit messy here, so I'm going to call this apt arch bolt, and I'm going to create an object merge. I'm going to drag this in here, copy this name, call this in. Okay, let's add it here, see what we get. Paste it, and I'm gonna control click here so we can have that visible. And let's see where this small geo is. Okay. And we can find the exact scale because I used the same one on top here somewhere. I think 200 maybe? It feels too high. No, it is. And let's align these guys. This down a bit. Cool. Okay, so the next thing I want is I'm gonna add a wall here with bricks. So let's do that. Let's create a grid. And let's look at space 2, 3, and 4 and 5 jumps between the various viewports of Houdini, front, back, top, view. Okay, let's do this. Something like this. And let's set this to 2 columns, 2 rows, and 10 columns. Let's say 40. I want to make bigger bricks, so I'm going to do that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to group them. First of all, I'm going to add a facet node, unify all of them, okay, and then group each one, group by range, and skip 2. Now we have that selected. I'm going to call this A. I'm going to add a transform and transform A to the side like that. Let's add a divide node. Actually, we need to blast each one separately. So let's separate that from this. Delete non-selected. Divide node. Take on bricker polygons. This is too dense. And let's set it to 10 here. Too high, 30. Okay. And this guy, I'm going to offset that. Let's merge the 2 and use the offset. Cool. So that's our brick walls. And let's copy that extrude and bevel. Save some time. And let's add a facet and unify them again. So each one of them is separate. And there we go. We have bricks. Let's transform them. And let's connect this so you can see it. And let's transform this back. Like that. Okay. We can also add it now with these guys. Add this part here. Shift and click will take the whole chain and move it. Awesome. Okay, so now what I'd like to do is I'm going to make a quick copy. I'm not going to spend too much time. I want some pillars here, so I'm going to reuse this section. Yes. Let's see what's the easiest way. Again, I'm going to do something hacky just to save time. I'm going to take all this, clip it along one of the axes. Z-axis, yep, something like that. And I'm going to scale it down. Okay. Let's create a null for these two. So I'm going to copy this. Create a null. Call this out pillar back. We're going to add some more transformation and stuff to it. Okay. Let's go down. Let's view all of this. And let's take a look at our new pillar. and see where to add it. Let's leave it there. That's fine. And I'm going to do an edit to basically modify it. So I'm going to select the top points and move this all the way up. And I'm going to add a transform. Maybe I don't have to make a copy because the modular system, the duplication is going to take care of that. Yep. So it's working. I think this is very dense, so I'm going to remove these guys. Let's go here. And this is the part, disconnect. That's all. Let's take a look what we have now. Awesome. I think it's coming along really nicely. And the brakes are working as well. So let's make some more copies of this. Let's try 12. And I'm gonna take on pack an instance, and I'll explain why I did that when we get to use the pack primitives. I'm going to mirror this along the z-axis, and let's transform it. Let's merge these guys together, just to get an idea of how it looks like. Cool. Okay, I think, yeah, we're making very good progress, and we're going to continue adding some more details. Thank you guys for watching, and see you in a bit.